The Balkan Wars of 1912 to 1913 were more than just regional conflicts. They were a deafening prelude to the symphony of destruction that was World War I. These wars, waged on the volatile Balkan Peninsula, redrew the map of southeastern Europe and unleashed forces of nationalism and ethnic strife that would have devastating consequences for the entire continent. The embers of resentment and the thirst for independence, smoldering for decades, finally erupted into the flames of open warfare. The Ottoman Empire, once a formidable power, was now in decline, struggling to maintain its grip on its European territories. This weakness emboldened the nascent Balkan states, eager to assert their independence and expand their borders. The Balkan Wars were a complex web of alliances and enmities, with each state pursuing its own ambitions. Serbia, Greece, Bulgaria, and Montenegro sought to carve out their own spheres of influence, often at the expense of their neighbors. The resulting conflicts were brutal and bloody, leaving deep scars on the region. The wars also set the stage for the larger conflict that would soon engulf Europe. The great powers, including Austria-Hungary, Russia, and Germany, were drawn into the fray, each with their own interests and agendas. The Balkan Peninsula became a tinderbox, ready to ignite at any moment. The decline of the Ottoman Empire created a power vacuum that the Balkan states were eager to fill. The shifting alliances and territorial ambitions of these states added to the instability of the region. As the Balkan Wars came to an end, the seeds of future conflicts had already been sown. The fragile peace that followed was merely a prelude to the cataclysmic events that would soon unfold, forever changing the course of history. To understand the Balkan Wars, one must first grasp the complex tapestry of ethnicities and national identities that colored the region. For centuries, the Balkan Peninsula had been a melting pot of cultures, languages, and religions, a crossroads between East and West. The Ottoman Empire, for all its faults, had maintained a fragile peace in the region for centuries. However, by the late 19th century, its grip was weakening, and nationalist movements began to emerge within its Balkan provinces. The seeds of these movements were sown by intellectuals and revolutionaries who yearned for self-determination and an end to centuries of foreign rule. As the Ottoman Empire grappled with internal strife and external pressures, the Balkan peoples saw an opportunity to break free from the shackles of imperial rule. The Greeks had already won their independence in 1829, and their success served as a beacon of hope for other aspiring Balkan nations. Serbia, Bulgaria, Montenegro, and Romania all nurtured ambitions of unifying their respective ethnic groups, scattered across the Balkan Peninsula by centuries of migration and conflict. These nationalist aspirations, fueled by romantic visions of a glorious past and a shared sense of grievance against Ottoman rule, created a potent and volatile mix in the region. In the face of a common enemy and driven by their own nationalist ambitions, the Balkan states formed an unlikely alliance. Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece, and Montenegro, once rivals for territory and influence, set aside their differences and forged the Balkan League, a military alliance aimed at dismantling the Ottoman Empire's European possessions. The League, united in its objective of expelling the Ottomans, presented a formidable challenge to the crumbling empire. Their combined military strength, bolstered by years of preparation and fueled by the fervor of nationalistic zeal, proved too potent for the beleaguered Ottoman forces. Section 5. Triumph and Treachery, the First Balkan War. The First Balkan War erupted in October 1912, with the Balkan League launching a coordinated offensive against the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman forces, plagued by internal dissent and technological inferiority, crumbled under the weight of the League's assault. Within months, the League achieved a series of stunning victories, driving the Ottomans back on all fronts. The Serbs, eager to secure an outlet to the Adriatic Sea, pushed towards Albania. The Greeks liberated Salonika, a city of immense strategic and economic importance. The Bulgarians, after a fierce battle, captured the strategically vital city of Adrianople, also known as Edirne. Section 6. The Spoils of War. Seeds of Discord. The swift and decisive victory of the Balkan League, however, sowed the seeds of discord among the victors. The territorial spoils of war, particularly the control of Macedonia, became a point of contention, reigniting old rivalries and threatening to unravel the fragile alliance. Bulgaria, having borne the brunt of the fighting against the Ottomans, felt entitled to a larger share of the conquered territory. Serbia, on the other hand, saw its aspirations for a Greater Serbia threatened by Bulgarian claims in Macedonia. Greece, too, staked its claim on parts of Macedonia, citing historical and ethnic ties. Section 7, A Second Front, Bulgaria's Gamble. The simmering tensions between the former allies finally boiled over in June 1913, a time when the region was already a powder keg of nationalistic fervor and unresolved disputes. Bulgaria, in a desperate gamble to secure its territorial ambitions and assert its dominance in the Balkans, decided to take a bold and risky step. On the night of June 29, Bulgaria launched a surprise attack on its former allies, Serbia and Greece, hoping to catch them off guard and quickly gain the upper hand. This act of betrayal marked the beginning of the Second Balkan War, a conflict that would prove to be even more brutal and short-lived than the first. The war saw intense and bloody battles, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The Bulgarian attack, however, backfired spectacularly. Serbia and Greece, their armies hardened by months of fighting in the First Balkan War, were well prepared and quickly mobilized to defend their territories. The seasoned Serbian and Greek forces repulsed the Bulgarian offensive and launched a fierce counterattack, pushing the Bulgarian troops back. The tide of the war quickly turned against Bulgaria, as their initial advantage evaporated in the face of determined resistance. Sensing an opportunity to capitalize on Bulgaria's predicament, Romania entered the conflict, seeking to expand its own influence in the region. The Ottoman Empire, eager to reclaim some of its lost territories and reassert its presence in the Balkans, also joined the fray, further complicating the situation for Bulgaria. Section 8, Shifting Sands, The Collapse of Bulgarian Ambitions. The Second Balkan War proved to be a disaster for Bulgaria. Outnumbered and outmaneuvered, the Bulgarian army faced defeat on all fronts. The Romanian army marched into Sofia, the Bulgarian capital, while the Greeks and Serbs made significant territorial gains. The dream of a greater Bulgaria, forged in the fires of the First Balkan War, lay in ruins. The Treaty of Bucharest, signed in August 1913, formally ended the Second Balkan War and redrew the map of the Balkans once more, this time at Bulgaria's expense. Section 9. The Treaty of Bucharest and the Shadow of War. The Treaty of Bucharest, while ostensibly bringing peace to the Balkans, did little to address the underlying ethnic and nationalistic tensions that had fueled the wars. The treaty, signed in August 1913, marked the end of the Second Balkan War, but it was more of a temporary bandage than a permanent solution. The borders were redrawn, but the deep-seated animosities remained. Bulgaria, stripped of its territorial gains and burdened with a sense of humiliation, harbored resentment towards its neighbors. The loss of territories such as southern Dobruja to Romania and parts of Macedonia to Serbia and Greece left Bulgaria feeling isolated and betrayed. This sense of injustice would simmer and contribute to future conflicts. The Balkan Wars, brief and brutal, cast a long shadow over Europe. The wars had not only redrawn the map of the Balkans, but also exposed the fragility of peace in the region. The great powers of Europe watched with growing concern as the balance of power shifted unpredictably. The conflicts had destabilized the region, emboldened nationalist movements, and intensified rivalry among the great powers. Nationalist fervor surged as various ethnic groups sought to assert their independence and territorial claims. The great powers, each with their own interests in the region, found themselves increasingly entangled in the Balkans' complex web of alliances and enmities. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo in 1914, an event that would plunge Europe into the abyss of World War I, had its roots in the volatile mix of ethnic tensions and nationalist aspirations that the Balkan Wars had exacerbated. The Balkans, often referred to as the powder keg of Europe, had become a flashpoint, and the Treaty of Bucharest, rather than diffusing the situation, had merely delayed the inevitable explosion.